On the last episode of Alpha, the Antonio story, Antonio was 13 and he started spending more time with Brenda. A part of their arrangement was him picking up and dropping off for her. Inevitably, he found himself in trouble again. Antonio dropped some weed at school and he was sent to a juvenile facility. After failing to be respectful to his mother, Antonio was left at the facility for 9 days. While watching television, he stumbled upon the documentary that would change his life. It was the Alpha Gorilla documentary. Antonio was finally released, but things didn't go the way he thought they would. Instead of going home, his mother took him to Brenda's. In a rare moment of transparency, Brenda tells Antonio about some of her misfortunes. After feeling that she had lost so much, she refused to let Antonio make her lose her mind. Consequently, he had to go. She did, however, leave room for him to come back, but 3 years later, he was still at Brenda's. And now, Chapter 7, Peaches, narrated by Shandora Warren, music by Epidemic Sound. Who she was, Peaches. When I met her, 1984, I was 16, she was 16. Why I wanted her. Everybody wanted her. Why she was an asset. She presented something different. And this is when it starts getting interesting, I guess. I was 16 years old. It was 1984. That was the year that I met Peaches. There is so much to the story of me and Peaches. I was an alpha male and I eventually dominated her. But it didn't start out that way. Not in the least. I met Peaches because, well, this is what happened. I was still living at Brenda's, and we had a good thing going. Somewhat. I mean, I was helping her do her thing, and she was giving me some of the money. The issue was, well, there were a couple of issues. For starters, in spite of my willingness to jump in, I wasn't really accustomed to that type of life. I'm not even talking about the drug lifestyle. That was second nature by that point. I was 16 years old. For 13 years, I had lived in my family home. I always had my own bedroom and the ability to be out of the way. But it was completely different at Brenda's. Not only did she live in the projects, but she lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. One of the bedrooms was hers, and the other was reserved for my little sisters. By default, I had been crashing on the couch for 3 years. Everything I had was permanently placed into trash bags and thrown into the living room closet. That was fine when I was a 13-year-old boy who was fascinated by the idea of a faster life. But fast forward 3 years. After many hungry nights, constantly being awakened by whoever entered the apartment, and the roaches, let's just say that the appeal had worn off. But going home didn't feel like an option. Not going home to stay. Everything had changed so much. Brenda was like an older sister. I was used to doing what I wanted and moving as I pleased. By that point, I understood that my mother was right about most of what she said. I no longer had the desire to disrespect her, but I couldn't go home to live like her 16-year-old son. I felt like I was too grown. But what were my options? Stay on Brenda's couch forever? I knew I had to do something different. You're probably thinking, oh, that's how he met Peaches. Kinda. But not really. It's not the story you're probably thinking. A dude needs a place to stay, so he crashes with a girl. Nope, that's not the story at all. Peaches wasn't even supposed to be a part of the equation. Like I said before, it was 1984. Brenda was scoring from a dude and I went to pick up for her. They called him the boss. It was nothing new. By that point, I had been living with Brenda for 3 years. It was nothing for me to pick up or drop off for her. Just as she did on that very first time, Brenda had everything prearranged. She gave me the money and told me exactly how much drugs to expect. I already knew by that point, but I allowed her to tell me because I felt like she needed to. She'd say it the same way each time. He's going to give you XYZ amount. Make sure he weighs it in front of you. It was the same speech every time. By that point, I could pretty much eyeball it, but I never had to. On every occasion that I had shown up, he always waited in front of me. Old dude didn't live in the apartment complex. He lived in a house around the corner. I got there, fully expecting things to go exactly as they always did, but they didn't, for one reason. The boss wasn't in. He had left the package with a couple of guys. They weren't strangers, per se. They were the same guys who were always there, but I hadn't had any real dealings with them. I'd later get to know them as the goons. After being let in, one of the guys dismissively said, "The boss left this for you." Honestly, it looked pretty accurate to me. But because of the constant reiteration from Brenda, I decided not to test that theory. Very nicely, I asked, "You not gonna weigh it?" The guy looked at me like I was crazy. Again, very dismissively, he said, "Nah." He and the other guy both laughed. This is the thing. I wasn't a street kid. It was a fact that they were all aware of. And because of that, I felt that they were trying to take advantage of an opportunity. One thing that my father always told me was, people only have to see it once. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. If people see that they can easily take advantage of you, they'll continue to do that. But show them one time that they can't, and they'll never forget it. I didn't feel that I had anything to lose. The guys were a little bit older than me, but not much bigger. Actually, one was a bit shorter than me. Worst case scenario, we'd be involved in a fight. Considering the fact that they weren't in charge, I didn't see it escalating to the point of real violence. So, I took my chances. The first guy seemed to be in charge, so I felt that he held the best opportunity for me to get my respect. I looked him right in the eyes and addressed him. I said, "Look, I don't care what kind of games y'all play with everybody else, but I ain't them. Brenda's money is on the line, so that means my place to stay is on the line. I ain't making you doubt how much money you're going to get, and I don't want to doubt how much product I'm getting. Either weigh it or you can keep it. I'll take the money back to Brenda, and she can sort it out with the boss later." And that's when I noticed her. Sitting in the chair all the way in the corner was the girl who started it all. Obviously annoyed, she sprang from her position and walked over to where we were located. It was Peaches. Peaches was gorgeous. She was short, maybe 5'3" or 5'4". And when I say she was thick, trust me when I tell you that it was in all the right places. Peaches had shoulder-length hair that was parted on the right side. It was flipped upwards all the way around, with the left side falling just above her eye. That day, she was wearing a pair of stonewashed jeans and a Houdini shirt. Peaches walked over to the guy and snatched the package out of his hand. She placed it on a scale that was located on the coffee table. Peaches looked at me and asked, "You gonna look at it?" I walked over to the scale and glanced at the number. It was spot on. Peaches didn't wait for me to answer. She took the package and shoved it into my hand. "You're welcome," she said. And with that, she walked out of the room. I watched her exit. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. It was out of my hands. The guy that refused to weigh the package interrupted my thoughts. "Don't even think about it," he said. "She yours?" I asked. "Nah," he said. "She belongs to the boss." And that's how I met Peaches, technically. For the record, her name wasn't Peaches. That was a name that was given to her down the line. Her name was Kim, and she belonged to the boss. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow Shinny Tells a Story on Facebook and Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to purchase books by Shandora Warren, they're all available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and some in hardback formats. Please like and follow this podcast and share it with your friends, family, and frenemies, because all relationships matter, even the toxic ones. Thanks so much for helping me to create the world that I want to see. This is my 10th book. Oh yeah, you're welcome.